I guess traditionally when reviewing any music, it's best to be as non-biased and non-subjective as possible, right? In order to give a fair stance to listeners. But fuck that. I'm openly saying that I love this EP and everything about it. Where do we start then?
So Local Distortion has decided to start doing reviews, and I have a co-host for this show. It's Joe.
Cheers, Dan.
Now today we're going to review History and Law's Lights EP. We're going to sound like we know what we're talking about. Yeah. That's what we're going to do.
The beauty of this as well is the fact that we're going in blind.
Well, you are.
I'm going in blind.
Yes.
This is the thing. So
it's going to be a complete fresh take for you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going in blind and deaf. I've never heard this stuff before. And it's just nice to get kind of a fresh set of ears on something. Let's crack on. The EP as a whole, I don't know if you're getting the same vibe from me here, but for me the whole EP is very much a dim the lights, close the curtains, stick some candles on, melt into your sofa, stick your headphones in, maybe a nice glass of red, I don't know. But shut your eyes and just listen kind of EP. It's one of those ones you really can just immerse yourself in. I don't know if you feel the same there, but...
Yeah, it's completely and utterly immersive, this EP. It can just steal your afternoon because you can just have this on repeat. I personally I'm still not bored of it. I've been listening to it since its release. It still blows my mind listening to it.
And what's crazy is just 4 tracks, but you never tire of them. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And
I kind of discover new things every time I listen to it.
There's little things that creep out of nowhere and you pick up on it a second time. Hang on, where did that come from? I didn't hear that before. Oh, hang on, but that's actually referenced there, like in the first verse. I didn't hear that. And it just
subtle harmonies as well that I just pick up
that's
on.
That's it. And I guess that leads me on to the first track then. So let's go in with Black Eyes, which, I mean, I could honestly spend the next 15 minutes talking about this song in itself because, again, I love it. I haven't come across a song like this in some time, like a song that genuinely strikes a nerve and moves me. Very well written and captures the emotions of what the writer intended perfectly. And I'm going to hazard a guess and say it was Danny that probably wrote this one.
Yeah.
I guess you could refer to it as a journey of sorts. You know, you have this beautiful, haunting, almost ambient opening with this single guitar note being struck on the backbeat, on the 2 and the 4, almost like a melancholy bell toll, I guess you could refer to it as. At the start, you mentioned the harmonies as well, that I'm So at the start, kind of with Danny and Alice singing it together. Maybe, do any of the others do backing vocals as well, or is it mainly those two carrying it?
It's mainly those two, but I think kind of everyone kind of...
Because I'm hearing some like kind of 3-4 part harmonies in there as well, like nice and subtle. Again, I don't know if that's just a studio thing, if they do that live, then amazing.
They do that live as
Beautiful.
well. Yeah.
What I was saying is that I'm So at the start, that reprise in the intro section of a track, really, it draws you in and it helps set the feel and the allure for the rest of the piece. Moving, relatable lyrics are sung with genuine emotion and the feel resonates with me and hopefully any other listener as well, and you feel an immediate connection with this track only 30 seconds in before it kicks in. You know, I keep referring to this track as being kind of like a journey. Well, you know, you've reached that destination and the destination that's intended as and when the rest of the band kick, and I emphasise kick, when they kick in, with the crispest, punchiest drums that I've ever heard. They enter with a wallop. They cut through the mix beautifully. You know, this is high-end production, and you can tell these guys know exactly how they want their tracks to sound, and they achieve that with precision and expertise. This
band, they're quite separated in where they live, and they obviously come together to play music and to write music. This all comes through with this EP. You can tell that this is a pure labour of love, and I feel a lot of the frustration that they kind of have with the whole distance thing and coming together to write this EP. You can just tell that they just put everything into it, and it just all comes through.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Especially with this track.
Couldn't agree more. You know, when the track kicks in, that I'm So reprise you've got at the start, I'm not going to sing it because I'm a drummer and I can't sing for the life of me, but that I'm So that you'll hear at the start, you've then got the guitar line mimicking that, and there, like you were saying earlier on, you hear a piece kind of there and all of a sudden, it's back again, but in a different format. This kind of melodic exchange, this melodic movement that keeps flowing through the track, and you almost end up hearing these bits in your head even when they're not being played, and that's a really
that's
strong
when you've got a
sign.
catchy tune.
That's when you've got a catchy tune, and you're working with some seriously good songwriters as well. The way they establish melodies and riffs in general and kind of pass them around fluidly between vocals, guitars, synth, it just goes to show, as I say, how much these guys know about structuring songs and then melodic placement in general. As I say, this is one that it really struck a nerve with me. Even if you're not listening to the lyrics, the song still manages to find a way to move you. And if it doesn't, then I guess you're simply a heartless bastard void of any emotion. But, that said, each to their own, I guess. What I got from Danny was it's written out as if it's about another person, which in Danny's words is sort of the case. It's written from his perspective when viewing his own actions in hindsight, when he may have been acting out through being down or through annoyance or low mood in general, seeing that version of himself as a different person entirely. That's what's going on. So I quite like that stance, like an out-of-body kind of...
But I think everyone can relate to that.
Yeah, 100%.
That just makes you connect with this song so much more because you can just visualise yourself saying these words.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as you say, I think we all get that to an extent. You can easily look back on previous behaviours from times in our lives, be it kind of recent or some time ago where things might not have been going so well for us, and we recognise that actions and decisions that we made during that period, they seem to be the decisions of another person almost, like, fuck, did I really do that? Did I really say that? Was that me? I was acting out of place. And again, I don't think there's a single person that can listen to this track and hear those lyrics and not relate. And that again is...
it's just universal, this track.
Very accessible lyrics, and I love that. There are some things that, I certainly wish I hadn't done out of impulse, through whilst I was in a down patch. And that's where I feel that the really poignant line that he says, there's a part of me that wished you'd grabbed my hand. But then he questions it by saying, would it have made any difference? Is just like saying, well, maybe this behaviour, how I'm acting, is just unavoidable, and this is just who I am. So do I just have to deal with it? It's kind of asking questions, and there's never a resolution. And again, like in life, there isn't really resolution to some kind of queries or things you go through in life.
The way he puts these questions into this song, it makes you relate to that even more because he's not just giving you the answers or saying, well, this is the right thing to do, that's the right thing to do. He's saying it's perfectly okay to not have the answers. Yeah,
bingo. If you keep telling yourself that you're feeling a certain way, be it a feeling about something in particular or just a mood within yourself, then that's how you are going to feel regardless. If I tell myself I'm anxious about something and worried, fearful of what will go wrong, then that's how I'll feel. It consumes you almost. And instead of embracing a mood or fear and attempting to combat it by positive thinking, like, yes, I'm nervous about, event X or Y, how can I overcome this feeling or use it to my advantage? If I tell myself, I am ready, I will feel ready. It works both ways, negative and positive, but unfortunately for a lot of people, they aren't ever able to see past the negative concerns and outcomes, and that's where things become problematic. And again, that's the general theme I'm getting from these lyrics in general.
This track, it's so deep. There's so many layers. It has that effect on you. It just makes you get completely immersed.
Makes you think. That's it. It just
and that's what makes it such a great song. It makes you think about those things.
There's an amazing flow to this track overall. You've got ups and downs, highs and lows. Again, reflective of that lyrical content. Again, it always comes back to that. But the climax of the track for me is when we hit that instrumental section towards the end. You get this short, really tasteful guitar solo, and it just wraps it up just like that, and just lingers. And that's one of those where I think when I first listened to it, I just had to pause it afterwards and just sit there for a little bit, probably a good 5 minutes. As I say, I was sat there having a glass of wine, and I just reflected. I sound like a bit of a hippie right now, but it's emotive, it's moving, it's a beautiful piece of music.
I think the breakdown as well, and that guitar is just as emotionally impactful as these lyrics
100%,
in this song.
100%. It's wailing. The guitar is wailing. It is singing. Again, that might sound like a bit of a cheesy metaphor, but that is exactly what's happening. It's used as a voice, and it translates. Anyway, that's all I've got to say on that song. That's not how I'm going to wrap up each one, don't worry. But yeah, so I guess
1 down, 3 to go.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. I guess next track, following on with the theme that Black Eyes is already established. Lights is another slightly moody and immersive number. Slow paced and rhythmically soothing, I guess you could describe it. Mixing it up a little bit by using a synthetic drum sound on this one to help establish the pulse for the entire piece. It's simple. It's a simple but effective linear drum groove, right? It's played throughout the entire piece pretty much, which remains pretty much unchanged, bar the odd pause here and there. It's another testament to the age-old saying that less is more.
Yeah, it's simple but effective.
That's it.
It ticks all the boxes, and it's probably the most listened to track that I listened to from this EP. I just think the way it's structured, you can simply just loop it.
Yeah, that's
put it on repeat.
Happily, just have that playing in the background all day. But no, it works perfectly for this style of music, and the drum sound is great. I mean, I don't know if you can tell I'm a drummer yet by the amount I'm wanging on about the drums. I'll try and keep that to a minimum. But again, I'd like to see how he must use like as you say, like a sample pad live or like a hybrid kit.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, right, here's another element that gives this group an edge, right? They're lucky enough to be able to choose from two amazing lead voices within the group to front any song, based on which voice is either more fitting to the feel and style of a track, or it could well be the case that he or she who writes it gets to sing it. I don't know. Either way, it certainly helps open up the playing field in regards to songwriting for them, as both Alice and Danny have distinctly but perfectly different voices.
Could almost be a different band.
Yeah.
You listen to Black Eyes, and obviously you listen to it over and over, and then you move on to Lights, and
Yeah.
you just think, wow.
As I say, having two singers to work with, it really opens up the playing field for writing and for performance alike. And again, one thing that I think when you hear on record, bands doing 2-part, 3-part, 4-part harmonies, that's something that I always feel is lacking. I want to hear, especially when it's as melodically interesting and well written as it is, by these guys, you want to hear that same sound live, and they are able to do that easily. Distinctly but perfectly different voices, I think, is a nice way to kind of sum it up. They come together beautifully when aiding each other in harmony, but they work just as well in isolation, when taking the lead on the vocals.
I think it's definitely something that's welcome on this EP after the emotional sort of punch you get from Black Eyes. This kind of breaks up the vibe nicely.
As I say,
takes it
soothing.
Off. Yeah, and it takes it off in a totally different direction as well. And it's simple, it's catchy, it's got everything you'd want.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's one of my favourite tracks on this EP.
I'd say it's a close second. Yeah, I've already, as I say, in case you couldn't tell, Black Eyes for me is taking the top spot, but this I'd say is probably number 2.
Yeah. It's very difficult to obviously pick and choose these tracks, but yeah, I can honestly say I've probably listened to this one the most. Yeah, it just does it for me.
Alice, taking the lead on the vocals on this track, and I know I'm repeating myself here, but again, this voice is as soothing as the overall feel of the track. The two go hand in hand together. The acoustic guitar, which again sonically sits just where it should within the track, is striking these chords within the verse, every other bar on the second beat, I think it is. And it's only revolving around 2 chords, but this opens up a whole lot of space for Alice to work melodically, and Danny fits in some beautiful harmonies, especially on the lines, is this love, honey? I don't know. Yeah. Is this what you wanted when you were young? That cut through me when I first heard that. Again, that was a proper...
I think that's when it just hooked me, and I was like, right, this track.
Yeah, it's that little triplet, da, 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 is this love? And then, again, not going to try and sing, I won't do that again, don't worry, but the point is, their voices work perfectly together, and it's just a thing of beauty. They just know, again, this kind of stems back to what we were talking about on Black Eyes, but they know when they need to introduce like another little melodic motif to kind of help fill the space. And they only let it linger long enough to fill that desired gap in the piece, right? They never overdo it. But the beauty in their writing lies in the fact that those little ostinatos, those melodies, those hooks, riffs, whatever the fuck you want to call them, that they throw in, they linger in your head, and you find yourself hearing these little melodies over and over in other sections of a song where they are otherwise absent. But in your mind, it sounds fantastic. They help bring you into the song in such a way that you're able to piece these parts together and you hear it in your own way. The voicings of the instruments in general, the pads, guitars that they use are so perfectly fitting for the track. Nothing sounds out of place. Everything just fits and works, and it just makes for a very, very easy and enjoyable listen. I don't think I need to say more on that, really. I mean, just...
Yeah. Really great track.
Yeah. So the third track, Fairfax, again, it features another... this is great, I love this. So it features another ambient opening, okay? And after having heard the first 2 tracks, you feel like you've got a good idea of where the other tracks are going to be going and what they're going to sound like. And that's not a bad thing, I want more like that. But then all of a sudden this track just burst into life, with a much more up-tempo, brighter and uplifting entry from the rest of the band. The lead line on guitar being played during the intro, that's mimicking the chorus vocal melody. Again, like we said earlier on, melodic placement, exchanging melodies across instruments. It's just, it's very well done, really nice touch. It's just another one of those hooks that they've thrown in, and it won't be leaving your head anytime soon. Multiple times in different formats really helps, embed a melody into the listener's ear. And these guys know how to construct a song from the top down. They certainly know when they've got a hook and they want to work with it. The fact is, these guys could play the same line on repeat for a full 3.5 minutes and it wouldn't become boring, it wouldn't become monotonous. Yeah. The vocal breaks in the verse are particularly effective. You've got this kind of call and response thing going on between Alice and the rest of the band. What I like about the vocal breaks in this as well is that it really makes the listener focus on what it is that is being sung. It's hard to ignore such lyrics anyway. I love the opening line, finding ways to pass the time part-time lovers and cheap red wine. But lines like that draws you in straight away. That's the opening line, and that makes you want to hear and actually listen to the rest of the lyrics. Again, you get people that listen to tracks, and the focus isn't predominantly on lyrical content. It's not on lyrics, it's more melody, the song as a whole. But with a line like that, you can't ignore it, and it just helps you kind of sink into the rest of it. So yeah, I mean, the bottom line on this one is it's a really pleasant, kind of fun change, uplifting, filled to the brim with hooks, melodies that, again, you'll find yourself humming long after you've listened to it. You know, verse and chorus alike. I actually found it put a smile on my face. I'm a miserable bastard. I really am.
So I'm not sure if you've listened to any of their previous songs. I would say this song is probably the song that you'd bridge the gap from their other material to this EP.
Yeah.
I'd say this is a perfect filler in between those. But this song is probably the most history and lore of the previous back catalogue that you would get from this EP.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing.
No.
At all. I'd say that compared to the other 3 songs on this is the song that will take you back to maybe their other songs.
And that works perfectly for kind of, you know, they're already established fan base. Like, you're used to a certain sound and you love it, and then you're hit with this entry of 2 new, deeper, darker songs. Yeah. And then, oh no, they're back again. But actually, hang on, I want to go back to the darker stuff because they do that really, really well. Yeah. So,
but obviously having this in the sort of middle of the EP, I'd say, is a nice reminder of the band that they are, even though they're trying obviously these slightly newer things and ideas.
You know, experimentation is key, and I think had I not have heard any of their prior material and I just went straight in with, you know, these first 2 tracks like Black Eyes and Lights, for me to hear this for the first time, that's actually really interesting. But that's kind of reminiscent of their older stuff, because it was a really pleasant change. And yeah, as I say, it genuinely did kind of, it put a smile on my face. So I keep repeating myself, but it was uplifting. It kind of,
yeah, it's definitely something this EP needs, because I think if it was all kind of the same tone as, you know, Black Eyes and Tillicum and to an extent Lights, you kind of need this uplifting break from those songs. Obviously they're incredible songs.
Yeah.
But this song, you just kind of need that uplifting.
That lift.
Yeah, you need that lift before you go in to obviously the next song.
And again, though, to only be 3 tracks into, you know, a release into an EP, and actually it goes back to what I was saying at the start. This journey that speaks volumes in regards to placement of the tracks. If they put track 3 as track 1, so if we had Fairfax as track 1, that would completely disrupt the flow of the listening, and it wouldn't be, as I described it, at the start, like a sit down.
You probably would have had a completely different opinion of it. So potentially,
they know what they've done there. They're smart.
They're smart guys.
They know what they're doing. Yeah. It sounds like I'm being really condescending. I'm not. I swear to God, they are just. Genius. They know what they are doing, and you know, I think anyone that listens to them can kind of get that from what they've got going on here. Tillicum, track 4, the end product of this 4-track EP. So after that nice change of pace that we had from Fairfax, Tillicum kind of restores us back to the already established theme from the first 2 tracks, you know. But this track sits somewhere in between. Again, I don't know if you'd agree with me on this, Dan, but although we're returning to like a slower pace, the chordal progression of a track is quite elevating in spirit, although it feels that the lyrical content would be implying something a little more raw, darker and deeper than what the music's implying. That vocoder effect at the beginning, it's fitting, it's audibly transfixing. Before we crack on though, I mean, Tillicum as a name itself for a track, what does that name mean to you? I mean, I'll have to admit, I had to give it a little Google and find out, you know, what Tillicum is, or, you know, I found out it's actually an orca. I mean, Dan, fill me in a little bit more.
Tillicum was at SeaWorld, I believe. I can't remember which one. One in America. Obviously, SeaWorld, these animals are enclosed in very small pens, spend a lot of their day in the dark, almost solitary confinement, almost. I think this is maybe where the name starts to link to the themes of this song.
Well, that's it. If you're aware of what Tillicum was, I guess that's enough to help set the tone for what you think the song might be about. You know, if you, like, as you say, you think you nailed it there. You know, you think captivity, like loss of family, violence. I mean, you know, Tilly, as Tillicum was otherwise known, Tilly the whale, sounds so friendly, but actually ended up killing 3 people or so, I think.
Yeah,
so
three of the trainers.
Yeah,
actually.
it's pretty heavy. You know, so that kind of a longing for a real home. This that, and the other. It's pretty fucking heavy when you think about it. And it's exactly as I spoke to Danny again about this one, and he kind of described it, and I think this is brilliant. He described this track as, it's one of those songs that it is really deep, but he wouldn't know exactly how to describe 100% what it's about. I think it's one of those tracks as well where even if you don't understand the meaning behind it, however you infer it, that's what the track is to you.
It's just very similar to Black Eyes. It's just so relatable in those lyrics, and that uplifting kind of swell that it has, I think it really needs that after, the journey that this EP takes you on.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to that darker place, you need those uplifting moments in this song.
There's a line in there that's repeated a lot, and again, it's quite poignant. Again, take it as you will, but the line itself is that all I had was a hollow embrace. All I had was a hollow embrace. Now that, on its own, you wouldn't need to know what the rest of the song was about. As a line, for me, is striking. Again, I'm struggling to kind of get the words out here because
it's just such a powerful line. And
yeah.
The way it's repeated and then the way it's almost screamed at you. It's just raw emotion.
Yeah, it's a line that, it sticks, it lingers in your mind's ear, and I had to turn to Danny again on this one, and he kind of helped add some context to this track, behind the lyrics, which might not be overly apparent, but there's also kind of a disdain towards a father figure in there, a fear of turning into something that you don't want to. So for a lot of people, I guess a father is a role model, someone you'd hope to grow to be like. However, there's sadly a large proportion of people that don't have that going for them, and as sad as it might be, these people need to look for a way to console themselves, and within these situations, and that hollow embrace that he's referring to, that is the consoling hollow embrace. And again, just emotive, raw, dark, but you juxtapose that with the chordal progression of the track and how it sounds. It's a bit of a headfuck, really, in a good way.
It is. It's just powerful. I think it's the most powerful track
Yeah.
on this EP, and the most sort of to leave an impression as well.
This is exactly why it's been put as the last track on there, and this brings me on to my next point, is that you've got this huge outro section in there, which you literally feel, I think the word I'm looking for is you feel engulfed by it, in a good way. It comes crashing down to an abrupt ending there, and an ending that at the time you don't realise it signals the end of this EP. It's an ending that leaves you wanting to hear the next track, only to realise that it's, well, the only way you'll get to hear any more of it is if
you put it on repeat.
You put it on repeat, yeah. Or you just get off your arse and you just go and catch them live, which, from hearing this EP, cannot wait to see them live myself. I feel like I've already kind of gotten to know the band just through listening to it. Had I not have spoken to Danny, dropped him a message and kind of got a little bit of a breakdown on vocals, on lyrics and all that, you still feel like you've gotten to know the band through these tracks, and that says a hell of a lot.
Obviously, I've been listening to these for a good almost 12 months. The EP came out, obviously I got them a bit earlier to listen to these tracks, so I've obviously had that time to digest these songs, but to hear your fresh take on these is just reminding me of my first reaction to them. And I think most people's reaction, if not everyone's reaction to these songs.
I'm just glad that I've managed to find a band that has actually struck such a chord with myself and actually made me kind of want to get into discovering new music again, because in all honesty... And
I never understood what most reviewers say when they say you need this band in your life.
Yeah.
I never got that line.
Brilliant.
But with this EP, that needs to be said.
You need this needs to be part of your life. You'd be stupid not to just sit back and listen to it. And honestly, I do think each to their own. I said it at the start, best enjoyed. Just stick your headphones in or put your sound system up and just sit back, sit down, draw the curtains and just immerse yourself in it, because I think that's the best way to get the most out of it, and you won't regret it.
It's just incredible.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Hats off to them. Hats off to them, yeah, man.
There's no other words we can use to describe this EP. I think we've said it all.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I just can't wait to see what happens next, and I'll be waiting with bated breath, put it that way.